All right. Well, after a wonderful and widely varied open mic, we come to one of my favorite parts of any given evening, and that is introducing a feature and having such a wonderful voice hold forth here before our very eyes. Phyllis Klein is our feature of the evening, and says she has been in a love relationship with poetry since adolescence. For the past 20 plus years, she's been writing, learning, trying her hand at getting published, and celebrating with poems, hers and others. Of course, all along, this love relationship has had its struggles. Membership in two beloved writing groups, both on Zoom, has been invaluable, working in tandem with many influential teachers. Her book, The Full Moon Herald, Grayson Books 2020, is a poetic newspaper filled with the political news and personal news. It was awarded finalist in the Eric Hoffer competition of 2021. During the pandemic, she started Poets in Conversation, a reading series to help poets find avenues to read from books published during social distancing times. Phyllis is currently working on another book focused on the body and a chapbook, a second edition of the Full Moon Herald.
Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And I really want to thank everybody for the warm welcome. And it does feel like, even though we're all sitting in different places, it feels like we are in a cafe. And I really appreciate the community and also that I got to hear the open mic before I read. Usually, a lot of times you read first and so that was really, really wonderful. I really enjoyed all the poems. If I'm going to read just a couple of quotes from poet. So here's the quotes. Natasha Trethewey says, "We need the truth and beauty of poetry now more than ever." And Danusha Lamera says, readers want to eavesdrop on another human having a human experience, something important. People want to feel less alone. People turn to writing as a way of staying intact with some kind of joy. And then you may be familiar with this quote. William Carlos Williams says, "It is difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there." So I don't know if you've heard that one, but that really means a lot to me. So so I'm going to start my reading, my poems, with a couple of old favorites. Dan said, bring some old favorites. So from my book, The Full Moon Herald, which is a poetry newspaper, and it has news poems and personal news. So and as people put things into the chat, I will try to come back and read what people are saying about why they write. So I'm going to start with a poem that is from the arts and entertainment section of the book. And you can find videos of Paul Barton if you look online. And the title of the poem is Paul Barton Plays Piano for Elephants. The piano, fountainhead to a congregation of elephants, sick, abused, retired, a man's hand skimming the keys. Animals stop, listen, flap ears, reach trunks around to sniff aura of the instrument, aspect of the man. Elephants straggling about, free now, shielded. The piano sitting on the dirt in a park, surrounded. Picture it. Sings a plain song, man playing Bach to a creature large enough to kill him. Stomp up his keyboard, stands transfixed. The man gives bananas at first to make a good impression, helps to memorize his smell, connect him to the sounds, walks with a group sometimes, the blind ones. Even if they knew where the piano once got its keys, what would they do? Crush it? this cruel, splendid coincidence, this moonlight sonata under the stars, these behemoths swaying. And if you do watch the videos, you can't help but sway along and flap your ears. So let's see who's here in the chat. Jack says, I try to make poems to repair the world. And David says, I write to make you laugh. Yeah, I got that. And then I'll wait and read a few more later. So the next one is from the international news section. And this one, it's about the White Terror in Taiwan, and they jailed and executed people labeled as communists. Um, and it was scary times then, just like it's scary times now. So, and I just want to say, I'm really impressed with everybody's political poems, and to me, writing about the news is an important act of resistance. And so this is a really sad, terrible story. And it's called It Should Me, It Should Be Me Who Is Looking After You. Letters from the Dead, Taiwan. Only the night before execution are they given a pen and paper to say what will be unseen for decades. He takes the pen, writes the message to his unborn child. Before long, I will leave this earth. His wife feels their child inside her. All she knows is his disappearance, the emptiness. Alas, to be unable to see you, to hug you, to kiss you at once. The child arrives. Her father is part of a flock of magpies. I am heartbroken, he says. My regret is unending. All she knows is her father is not there. All she knows is nothing. For 60 years, she knows not a thing until the letter arrives. Another takes his pen, writes a message to his son. On this earth, you will never see your father again. His father is a tawny owl on a blue oak branch. This is the saddest thing, he tells him. The son is lonely. You must not forget your father. This man writes to his mother, your son believes that people who die have a spirit. She feels him near her like a robin flying through an open window. Your son is determined to come to your side every day to keep in touch. She feels the draft of wings on her face, to see your peaceful eyes, to make sure you eat 3 meals a day. So many days, so many years later, the letters arrive. The words fly off the paper to settle on teardrops, tiny lanterns drifting. And, as you can tell from the poem, somebody put all those letters in a drawer and they stayed there for 60 years. And then they were found and sent out. Um, so now the next set of poems I'm going to read are body poems. Um, and that's my way of trying to understand what my body is saying. You can hear it in my voice right now. And by the way, can everybody hear me okay? Can you? Yeah, okay. Um, and so why my body is saying what it says and why it does what it does. Um, and this poem, the first one I'm going to read has an aphra in it, repeating a phrase over and over. Requiem for my skeleton. I ask myself how to grieve for my bones. I ask myself how to feel them thinning. I ask myself why I don't feel it. I ask myself what I was looking for in the closet of my scaffolding. I ask why it was locked. I ask to say a few words of remembrance for the framework. I ask to sit in a field of butterflies because they don't live long. I ask to break out of this cage. I ask to think of bone broth. I cry. I try matching outside to inside. I support myself. Can I imagine myself stooped over? I ask you to hold my hand as we watch a puff of clouds trek above our bodies and dissolve. So I try not to make the body poems. I try to find some way to make it not too maudlin. This next one, it's a few things in here. So there's a guy in Japan who has a mission to help people cry, and he goes around the country giving talks, and they brings tissues, and people cry. And actually opened a crying cafe in Japan, and so I was very taken by that, and I wanted to write about it. And then the other thing is that I have been painting birds, and so the birds showed up in this poem. And then for me, it's a poem of grief because I have trouble crying, and I would like to be able to cry more. So the poem is called Picture Book of Tears as Birds. On page one, they whistle like warblers, slide down the riverbank of a face. Next, the crying cafe, filled with swans, their lake a bowl of weeping tea. Why do crows swagger warnings, steal feelings like marbles to stash in branches? Page four, a mourning dove flown under the eaves on my birthday as omen. Either smoke-filled underworlds or a chance for redemption, a beak dressed in green. Next, eider down on wet cheeks, freely given by mother ducks. A cloud of cardinals, funeral shadows plumped in red plumage, page 8. Flip to my robin wings, over russet belly shuddered, poised on the dry fountain. The floodgates, let them display day and night like the hand-lettered sign on the crying cafe. This place open for grief, open for love, or winging for love that never was there. On the last page, a stone, a gem inside. To open takes enchantment, takes a beak, a claw. Thank you. So let me see if I can find some more why I write. So Richard says, I write to give others and myself a different perspective. And Avacha says, hi Avacha says, I write because I have to. Yeah, I can really relate to that. Um, okay, so the next poem I'm going to read came from a prompt, and the prompt was to say something beautiful. So I kind of tried to really ramp that up. Say something beautiful. That royal blue in her eyes when she asks if I'm prepared for the second vaccine. That syringe brimmed with serum. The gym turned medical site dosed with sun. Varnished floors holding us up. Every volunteer good looking and graceful. My shimmering skin channeling death for so long, when and how it will or won't trace me with its chills and fevers. That mother in her eye saying, not today. If there's a cemetery inside us all, each one of us harboring a line of gorgeous dead under our collarbones, they breathe with us. Scientists in labs somewhere else unravel the stunning answers, this culmination of an unknown into the body through a magnificent stinging needle she empties into the latitude of my arm. The living and the dead glisten. Okay, so this next one is something I wrote because I was afraid to go to the doctor, and it's called Ode to Gynecology. Um, there's the office waiting room, mostly women, some full-bellied, some dewy. There's a sisterhood of vaginas sitting there wishing for good checkups. And me, my part somewhat disheveled, drought-ridden, hoping for redemption. There's the break I took from pap smears and speculums, a vacation from feel ups and downs. After all, so many years have departed since I've bled or suffered with a cramping uterus, or even had a wisp of a dream to fertilize one of my eggs. There's the routine: frontal, rear, wait for the sting. There's the doctor, only a female will do, to peer into my worn-out walls. Maybe it's a party up inside. Maybe it's a sick day. No streamers or soft guitar music. No gossip or showing off. Just a laid-up womb. Just a couple of retiring ovaries to greet her latexed fingers. Everything's so mixed up down there in the female bush, a crossing of organs, outspouts, and dumping zones, and she'll enter carefully, unafraid, spelunker, explorer of the hidden. Clothes off, wrapped in a paper gown, I wait for her soft knock. I'm draped in fluorescence, rich with experience. I'll ride her stirrups. I'll give her my fluids. Let her clamp in a speculum. I'll watch a ceiling mobile, splaying stars and planets into a neon sky. So, but if you men don't know about going to the gynecologist, it gives you a little bit of a bird's eye view there.
4 minutes.
Okay, I just have one more. Thank you. So let me see. So I wanted to say, let's see, Richard says, oh, somebody, yeah, Richard says he was surprised the letters from the White Terror were not destroyed. Yes, that is really surprising and pretty amazing. But too bad they got put in a drawer. And then actually somebody sent them out. And then Barbara says, I write to make sense of my thoughts. Here's another one. Here's a reason why I write, which is to honor people in my life. And this poem is written after the rain and windstorms that we had a couple of winters ago. And it's a love poem for my neighbor, Rita. It's called What's Needed. And all these things about Rita are true. Rita of the cookies, cakes, jams, and meal offerings, of the cactus fairy garden, master gardener, political organizer, and more. Our Rita at the wheel takes for granted that weeping cedar deodar tree until one gargantuan branch dislocates. Suddenly it wings from its body, becomes the slam of a weapon onto the street. At the very moment, Rita drives to the right instead of straight. In the instant of decision, she turns the right way. And now the rest of her life hangs, poised to renew. Let us wait a moment here to give Rita a chance to consider her reclaimed life, her next trajectory. It's not every day you escape death by a tree. Look around. Our streets, hardwood emergency rooms, whole trees splayed after years of drought, followed by deluge and vehement wind. A large oak corpse fallen where it wheezed. One giant redwood, two olives, a pepper all overcome. Rita decides what's needed is more. Our Rita, invigorated, renewed, surrounded by casualty, she endures, leads the neighborhood forward, pulling us upright when we despair, planting us like seedlings in her garden. Love, in the saturated, wood weary days of menace, love more into the landslide prone, flooded hills of our reckonings. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, unmute and let her know. Let her know.
Really nice reading, Phyllis.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.